Welcome everyone to the second semi-finals game between Andrey Esipenko and Wei Yi. The first one ended in a draw. The second one opens with 1 e4. Andrey has the white pieces. Wei Yi responds back with e5. Will Andrey be able to pose any problems to the extremely solid Grandmaster Wei Yi? Knight to f3. I'm pretty sure Wei is going to go for the Petroff because that's the opening. Yes, he plays it. Even when his opponent is well prepared, he knows that it's not easy to outwit him there. It's one of the most solid lines there, and I am sure that Andrey Esipenko has come up with something for this game. Knight takes e5, d6 played to push the knight away. Knight to f3. And Wei Yi now will snatch the pawn on e4. He takes it. Knight takes e4. The main line is d4 here to get the bishop out. Andrey plays knight c3, which is also very well known. It's a line which is quite aggressive. Knight takes on c3. He takes back. D takes c3. Opening up the bishop. Now, why do we call this an aggressive line? Because first of all, there's an imbalance in structure. But secondly, you can bring your pieces out and long castle. And that makes the game very exciting. And you can see that he brings his bishop out to f4. More common is bishop e3 here. But bishop f4 makes a lot of sense. Bringing the bishop to an active square. Knight comes out to c6. There's also a line where you put your knight from d7 to f6. Queen comes to d2. And now white would like to long castle. Now black has two options. One is to short castle. The other is to, yes, play bishop e6, queen d7 and long castle, which is kind of safer option there. So he plays long castles in this position. White does long castle, and now Wei brings his queen up. He's ready to also go in that long side direction. Bishop comes to e2, just developing the bishop. Maybe wants to bring his rook into the center of the board. Andrey and Wei Yi both have quite a lot of time on the clock right now. Long castle by Wei Yi. And remember guys, taking the pawn on a2 is off limits right now because of b3, king b2, and I trap your bishop. Knight g5 played. Wanting to get one of the bishops here. So bg4 is possible, but Wei Yi decides to trade his bishop for the knight. This gives white the bishop pair. f6 played. And now the bishop comes back to e3. So it improves the position of white pieces, I feel. Pressure here. h5 played by Wei Yi. Calmly trying to gain space on the queen, on the king side now, like here. And b3. Andrey Esipenko just improves his position slightly. He wants to go king b2, a4, maybe gaining space. Remember, the knight cannot move so easily because of bishop a7. So queen goes to f7. And these are the moments which are very, very tricky because you don't know as white whether you want to put the pawn on h4, h3, f3, f4. He goes bishop b5, kind of caressing the knight on c6. If the knight has to move, let's say knight e5, you could think about taking this pawn because b6, you have bishop a6, and it's very dangerous, this position. So he goes bishop d7 here, and Andrey brings the rook to e1, opening up the rook on the h file. Rook h e8 played. And here king comes up to b2. A useful move. White is definitely slightly better. Pawn to a6 played. I want to keep the bishop. So bishop c4, bishop e2, bishop f1 all look double. So place the bishop back to f1, and we have h4 on the board. And pawn to h3 by Andrey. The bishop comes up to e6, putting some pressure on this structure here. And pawn to f3. So he pushes the pawn forward. The bishop will drop back, attacking the pawn. g5 played. So black is trying to push the pawn to g5. And bishop f2. So one of the things that you have to notice in this position is the white bishops putting immense pressure on these diagonals. And also, if white can create another weakness on the f file, that would be amazing. Rook c1, a very curious move here. But I think it has something to do with the c2 square. He wanted to keep it protected. f4 is coming up. Queen g6 played. So defending. I think a very good idea is also to move the other rook. Keep the two rooks on the board if you are super ambitious and in a must win. But as it happens in these, games where a win would be amazing, but a draw is also okay. Rook e5, nice move by Wei Yi. He wants to double on the e file. And Andrey goes rook e2. I think this idea may be not the best, because, trading the rooks is going to not give you anything. He goes rook e8. And rook to e1, trying to trade off the rooks here. We have rook e7, Wei Yi creating the Alekhine's gun with queen to e8. And bishop g1. Andrey trying to get his bishop to h2 to force the rook to take. Now Wei Yi's time, if you look at it, has 5 minutes on the clock. They still have to make 14 moves. So definitely a small time lead there. Andrey brings his bishop to h2, attacking the rook on e5. Rook takes e2. Rook takes on e2. Rook takes e2. Bishop e2 played. And now queen e6, improving the position of the queen. And bishop to c4 played, attacking the queen. Maybe the bishop could come to d5. He goes back, queen to e8. And bishop comes back to e2. Well, the idea could be to play bishop d1 and f4. So he plays queen e6. bg1. And king comes up to d7. Very nice move. And bishop to e3, putting some pressure here on g5. The knight jumps into e5. And well, I'm wondering if f4 is possible at any point, but takes. Somehow this g2 point is a bit soft, so you are a bit confused whether you should do it. So he goes queen d4, maybe trying to get into a7. The knight goes back to c6. The queen comes back to d2. And are we seeing a repetition here? Knight e5, yes. Wei Yi is very quick to repeat. He's like, I'm okay with a draw here. Andrey thinks for a bit, goes queen d4. And we are heading towards the tie breaks here. That is interesting. Queen d2, a draw for Wei Yi accepts it. And the game ends in a draw. This will be an interesting tie break. The players talk to each other. Let's hear what they have to say.